Welcome to History at Age 9, a program about naval history from the Hampton Roads Naval Museum in Norfolk, Virginia, home of the U.S. Atlantic Fleet. From the Philippines, the entire fleet sailed into the Indian Ocean, making a port call at Colombo, Ceylon, which is now modern-day Sri Lanka, which lies off the southeastern coast of India. Once again, they enjoyed the country's hospitality. Many sailors enjoyed riding elephants, while others rode on the special train that carried them to the capital city of Kandy, high up in the mountains. The fleet celebrated the Christmas of 1908 underway, crossing the Indian Ocean en route to the Arabian Sea. The ships were decorated with palms, colored streamers, coconuts, and other fruit. A holiday routine was set throughout the ships, and sailors enjoyed a number of competitions, including potato races, three-legged races, and sack races. They even bobbed for oranges and perhaps dreamt of being home. I'm Catherine Renfrew, and this is Voyage of a Lifetime, The Great White Fleet, 1907 to 1909, Episode 4, The Voyage Home. After Ceylon, the fleet steamed toward the Mediterranean, single file through the Suez Canal. The canal which connects the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. It was the first canal that directly linked the two. They stopped at Port Said, Egypt, to take on coal and then split into several parties, visiting ports along the Mediterranean coast. USS Alabama and Maine visited Egypt. On December 28, 1908, a massive earthquake and tsunami struck Messina, Italy. Admiral Sperry received word of the quake, and the Navy's Goodwill cruise became a reality. Sperry ordered the supply ship Caloga, carrying hundreds of tons of food, the tender Yankton with 6 Navy surgeons, from the battleships and medical supplies, followed by USS Connecticut and Illinois. By the time the sailors arrived, they had the sober task of recovering bodies. They helped recover the bodies of U.S. Consul Arthur S. Cheney and his wife Laura from beneath the ruins. Some of the Mediterranean ports of call included Algiers, Tripoli, Naples, Marseille, Athens, Beirut, and Malta. Regrouping once again, the fleet made a final port call at Gibraltar and then steamed out into the Atlantic on February the 6th, headed for Hampton Roads. The ship's bands playing Home Sweet Home on this last leg of the voyage. The fleet arrived home on a rainy day on February the 22nd and was met by Roosevelt aboard Mayflower in cheering crowds ashore. The bands were playing Strike Up the Band, followed by the slower, more sentimental song, There's No Place Like Home. Of course, there was a 21-gun salute, which was met with enthusiastic applause. A sailor remembered the homecoming. We hit Hampton Roads on Washington's birthday and it was raining, but by golly, we celebrated with hardtack and sow belly dinner that day. Later, all the deckhands had to go to Washington and parade in the snow for President-elect Howard Taft. With only 2 weeks left in the White House, the return of the fleet and the success of its mission prompted Roosevelt to declare later that the cruise was the most important service that I rendered for peace. And he said in a speech to Admiral Sperry and his men, "In addition, you, the officers and men of this formidable fighting force, have shown yourselves the best of all possible ambassadors and heralds of peace. We welcome you home to the country whose good repute among nations has been raised by what you have done." Now, the cruise had many significant results, both diplomatically for the nation and technically for the U.S. Navy. On the diplomatic side, the cruise fulfilled our country's desire to be recognized as a world power. Our relations with the countries visited were either improved or established in a positive way. The most important improvement of relations was with Japan, the main diplomatic target from the beginning. The visit by the fleet provided the main thrust behind the Route Takahira agreement that went into effect shortly after the fleet's return. According to this treaty, the United States and Japan agreed to maintain the status quo in the Pacific and to respect each other's possessions there. Also, both nations consented to respect the open door policy in China and the independence and territorial integrity of that country. One of the main successes of the Great White Fleet was that it brought widespread public awareness and education of and appreciation for the U.S. Navy, not only in the U.S., but abroad. Americans had followed the progress of the Great White Fleet throughout its journey in the newspapers, and for the most part, the sailors or crew acted as American diplomats having personal contact with the host countries and its people. In his report for 1909, the Secretary of the Navy stated that the cruise increased enlistments and enabled the Bureau of Navigation to recruit the enlisted force to practically its full strength. A pleasing development in a period when few American boys thought seriously of joining the Navy. Moreover, the Secretary was able to report there has been a gratifying decrease in the percentage of desertions, which has dropped from 9 to 5.5% during the past year. The cruise also provided on-the-job training for the sailors, operationally, technically, and diplomatically. The crews reinforced their pride in service and country. They had been the ambassadors of goodwill and the vehicles through which others perceived and judged America and the Navy. But even more concretely, the sailors saw their individual roles and the role of the Great White Fleet as providing the muscle behind U.S. foreign policy. The crew learned to deal with fuel shortages and consumption, engineering reliability, and ship handling, not to mention their daily gunnery exercise and routine life aboard the steel battleships. They learned how to get the greatest economy out of their engines, the most mileage per ton of coal. Because they had no Navy yards handy, they learned that to a great degree, they could maintain their ships themselves. They learned to place their ships accurately on station during tactical drills and battle exercises, and to keep them there. Experience gained by the crews led to improvements in formation steaming, coal economy, and morale. Gunnery exercises doubled the fleet's accuracy. It highlighted the strength and weaknesses of the Navy as well. Though the peacetime crews did not test the performance of the battleships while in combat, the successful return to Hampton Roads proved the fleet's ability to cruise substantial distances without major mechanical problems. The experience also helped the Navy identify certain needed improvements to ship design. Now, the negatives included a reliance on foreign colliers and the need for coaling stations and auxiliary ships for coaling and resupply. There were various technical defects in the ship design. There was a need for greater size and displacement of ships. Shipboard habitability wasn't adequate, and ventilation had to be improved. Hull casement shutters couldn't keep the water out in rough seas. Rapid fire guns placed close to the waterline could not be used effectively since spray and water shipping into the gun ports were distracting to the crews. And the lofty upper works of the ships were found to be comfortable for peacetime conditions, but what would be shell exploders during wartime? The Voyage brought to light various technical defects. In addition, the old-style military mast and fighting tops were replaced by new cage masks with fire control tops. Top-heavy bridges and chart houses were removed and replaced by open bridges. Lightweight torpedo defense guns gave way to more powerful pieces, and new fire control gear is fitted out on the ships. Sperry also recommended that the ships of the Navy would have their coloration changed from white to gray, something naval officers had been recommending for years. It was felt that Navy ships should not be in holiday colors going into battle. In conclusion, the U.S. Atlantic Fleet, which later became known as the Great White Fleet, consisting of 15,000 sailors and Marines, covered 43,000 nautical miles on their trip around the globe. The fleet's journey started on December 16, 1907 in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and ended 14 months later on February 22, 1909, when they returned to Hampton Roads, Virginia. The sailors made 20 port calls on 6 different continents and experienced things that they never could have imagined, some lighthearted and fun, while others were somber and sobering. In the words of one sailor, Frank B. Lesher, an electrician on USS Virginia, It all seems a sort of a dream to me now that it is over with, but nevertheless, the cold fact remains that I have been to Cairo and have stood upon the Sahara Desert while the pyramids built over 40 centuries ago gazed down upon me. Whatever the significance of the world cruise for U.S. international relations and whatever its significance for the Navy as an institution, the young sailors that joined the Navy had literally seen the world. It was truly the voyage of a lifetime.